Welcome to my world. Come on in and make yourselves at home. Welcome to my life. I know everything's gonna be all right. Welcome to my world. Oh, won't you come on in? Welcome to my life. It's known as the Tiger's Den. Greetings to all of my subscribers. I want to thank you for being with me for as long as you have, and the new subscribers that's coming on in. We want to say greetings and thank you for your time. This is from Toothless and the moderators. Welcome to the Tiger's Den. Greetings and welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Cheryl, and I am Toothless Tiger. I'm going to start this show talking about me just a little bit. This is a very important show to me. As a matter of fact, every show that I make is very important. I think it's things that need to be talked about, things that need to be looked at, and things that action should be taken by. I also want to talk about my journey here on YouTube. I was inspired to come to YouTube after seeing a young man who goes by the name of Bus Life Kwame Brown. He's an ex-NBA player, and I really have no dealings with this man, but he shows up a lot in Uncle Suge's chat, and he's made a lot of videos about Uncle Suge's children. He makes very disparaging statements about them, and he's an ex-NBA player with a very large following. As a matter of fact, I got people from him, approximately 600 people, and I was grateful. They saw me on his platform and was interested in what I was talking about. He promised to interview me. I didn't ask for the interview. He said he wanted to. Well, somewhere between him wanting to and me asking him to come to my panel, since it was small, and he said he would, something was going on with him and this other man that I dare not say his name. I call him the dog catcher. Well, actually, he's the dog crusher. And he is the man that I sued for $13 million and won. Both seem to not want to leave me alone. The dog crusher came into one of my posts and made a post. And, I'm not flattered. I sued him for harassment, bullying, and stalking, and defaming my name. This other guy, Kwame Brown, who loves to throw his weight around with small YouTubers, he keeps writing in the chats, "Toothless Tiger, I'm scared of you. I'm scared of you, Toothless Tiger. I'm afraid of you." Well, I've done nothing to Kwame Brown. Now, maybe he's afraid because he said that he was going to give me a cash app for using one of my videos. I actually cashed apped him and told him that I don't have a problem with him using my video. But he never cashed apped me. So what is he afraid of? He gets on YouTube, he docks individuals, he put their addresses, their children, he talk about their sexuality. He self-medicates on film and off. He slurs his speech. I've done nothing to this man. And he will not intimidate me by his celebrity, by talking about he's afraid of me. I don't know what that means. He's afraid of me. He's scared of me. I'm 65 years old. He's 43, 42, 41, wherever he is. He's my son's age. The things I've said about Kwame Brown, I meant from the bottom of my heart. He's an abused young man who will not deal with the little boy inside of him, from my opinion, from what he has shared on YouTube, and from his behavior. That he says he go by behavior. But his behavior has not been professional, and he's not kind, at least to me. I can't speak how he treat other people. But he came in Uncle Suge's chat talking about his son's sexuality, talking about Uncle Suge cooking for his children on film, talking about how high Uncle Suge was. And I made a statement to him. Perhaps if he cooked, people would watch him too. I'm sure they would. And he goes, Toothless Tiger, I'm afraid of you. Don't say anything to me. I don't say your name. No, you let your brother call me a big fat elephant that need to be washed on the side of the house in a chain. And you laughed so that you told him it was bothering your high. That's what you get when you get on YouTube. But I want to encourage anybody who wants to be on YouTube, don't let anybody intimidate you on this platform. We have a purpose in life, and we should serve out our purpose. My daddy said if you was born to burn, you're not going to drown. So I can't determine how I'm going to go. It is written in the Sun book, some call the Holy Bible, that it is appointed once for man to die. And after that, then comes the judgment. And no man knows the hour when the Son of Man will return. So I can't worry about that. I don't come on here to hurt people's feelings. I don't come on here to put people down. But Kwame Brown, you don't run shit when it comes to Cheryl Yvette. And talking about you afraid of me and you scared of me and I've done nothing to you. That's signs for his people. What they do is attack you. And then they unsubscribe. And they have the right to do all of that. Because guess what? I'm going to do this. Well, there's just me and this screen and this camera. But I'm grateful I have subscriber base. And no, it's not thousands and it's not hundreds of thousands, but it's people who are interested in what I have to say. And what I have to say to me is very important to us as a people. You see, I see people as people. We're all human. And we all have what they want to call us ethnicities and races. There's nothing but the human race. There's no other race. And there is discrimination. Yeah, it is. There is prejudice. Yeah, it is. We were all taught in somebody else's thoughts. But you need to develop your own thoughts. And don't judge a book by its cover, but by the content of what's written in it. And if you're talking about human beings, the content of the person's character. We have a lot of people we put on a pedestal and we think that they're great people, but they're just people. And 9 times out of 10, their story is worse than yours. And they're hurting and they hurt other people. But not me. Hi, Andre. Good to see you. Glad you're here. I want to talk about 2 young men who did nothing to no one. One was in his own home. His friend was visiting. And we have these men who call themselves the Goon Squad, who swore to serve and protect, took an oath of office. And anytime you take an oath of office in any government capacity, you're promising that you're going to uphold the Constitution. which are 7 articles and 10 Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments for the Constitution. I know many people don't want to hear what I have to say today. One day you will. I looked at a show last night and featured Taj Tariq Bey, and it was a question and answer, and it was fantastic. And the people kept asking him, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? We need to read. We need to research. We need to change the way we think. We need to quit looking for somebody else to do it for us. You see, if you don't own the knowledge, when someone approaches you with a question, you can't answer correctly. And not being answered correctly could be the difference in whether you get what you want or you don't. I didn't make this world the way it is. Oftentimes I'm ashamed of the things that I see that go on. But it is what it is. Truth has no versions. A lot of people say they have integrity. They say they have honor. They say they have valor. They say they have character. They say they have grace. But they don't show it to others. So to possess these things and don't share it, it's as if you don't have it. But we need to know what's going on. We always want to blame somebody else for our condition. And trust me, there is enough blame to go around because our condition is predicated on somebody else's behavior. But it's called hegemony. And it's one group dominating over another group. And until we learn that we can change our tomorrow, we may not be able to do nothing about our yesterday, but we can start today changing our tomorrow. And it starts with knowledge. For it is written, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Thank you so much, Regina. I appreciate you. And hey, Regina. It's an honor to be honored. It really is. I truly believe in a workman is worthy of his hire. You being here is an honor to me. Everybody that comes and listens to the sound of my voice, whether you're in the live or if you're somebody who's just scrolling through and just found my video, I greatly appreciate you. But what I'm not going to do, and that's why my shirt says not me, I'm not going to be intimidated by no has-been that never was, that had an opportunity to be, but squandered his opportunity. I'm not going to be moved by no bully who called himself skinny, and he looks worse than that. That won't happen to me. I don't bother nobody, but I'm going to always talk about me and what affects me. And until they stop us from using the First Amendment, freedom of speech, I'll forever do that. And by the way, Mr. Brown, your sexual harassment of Uncle Suge's son bothers me. And according to the law, I have a right to complain about you sexually harassing someone else before my presence. You won't stop talking about this young man. He's not on YouTube. He's not in your chat. And you have him about 13 years. So I don't know why you keep on making all of these sexual comments about this young man. Very disparaging. Very unbecoming for an ex-basketball player who cries about everybody in the NBA who didn't see him for his greatness. But you're on here with common people tearing us down. And then you have other common people tearing us down because they love your celebrity. As I told you before, I don't like or dislike you. I don't know you, but I see a hurting young man. And you're hurting a lot of people in the name of having fun on YouTube, because this is not fun. The things you allowed to happen to So Alicia, the things that you did and said, we remember. We just don't talk about it. We appreciate every opportunity that you gave to us, but we don't eat off of you, as the people say. You don't feed us. Instead, you harass and bully us. And everybody pretend they can't see, especially when everybody bullied me. Nobody saw. But baby, gone are the days. Ma is here to stay until she gets tired. And again, I love and appreciate everybody that listened to me. But I would just talk to this screen and this camera because I believe I have something to say, and somebody, somewhere, might want to hear it or need to hear it. And with that being said, I want to get into the meat of why we're here tonight. It saddened me when I learned of this story because I didn't really know this story. What I do is try to think of things that I can talk about that will help us as a people, all people. And given this Fonnie Willis and the things that she has done to shame and disgrace the DA's office, I was strolling through and I found Kristen Clark, who is an assistant U.S. Attorney General. And she brought forth a case on 6 police officers who tortured 2 Asiatic men. And that's her picture that you see. And I wanted to pay respect to those men, to the judicial system, U.S. Judge Tom Lee, who handed down sentences to these men that they never ever in life thought they would see. You see, they've been doing this for many years in Mississippi and all over the United States. But of course, we can't talk about it because then we're spreading what they say hate, or we can't talk about the things that happen to us. And it's sad. I don't get much anyway, so if they allow the video to have commercials, if they don't, as long as they allow it to play on the platform, I'm grateful to YouTube. Because I see all kind of things out on YouTube. All you got to do is look for it, it's there. But this is something I think a lot of us don't even have a clue about, because it don't directly affect us. So we don't know what people go through in little small towns, in their everyday lives, just trying to live. So I want to start with a few little videos that I have. And the first one I want to start with is about the sheriff. And he did this in 2022. He was at a convention. And his name is Brian Bailey. This is the sheriff who was the boss of the 6 men that were convicted, known as the Goon squad. Here we go. And of course, you know, I'm showing this under fair use for criticism, for commentary, for news reporting, for teaching.
Till, you know, my first year that I was elected, 2012, God opened my eyes to see that I was wrong. You know, I was the first one to say, hey, let's lock them up, throw away the key, let's go get some more and lock them, you know, put them in jail. And, you know, it all came back to a sermon I heard, you know, the preacher was talking about sin is sin. My sin and the inmate in Rankin County Jail, in God's eyes, the same. And I just built up relationships and learned who the person was behind that striped suit. And it just gave me the desire, and God laid it on my heart that that's my job, to help these people. So we're not being soft on crime, we're being smart on crime.
Now, I hope y'all heard what the chief said, because what he did is, the sheriff he said that, you know, he was one of those kind that said, let's just go get them and lock them up. And do know they are no respecter of persons. They did this to European men and women as well as Asiatic, mainly Asiatic. But he said that he heard a sermon and it changed how he viewed the people that he was locking up in his jail. So, that was 2022. Let's go to 2023.
That's right. The 6 former officers who called themselves the Goon Squad pled guilty today in federal court after the brutalization of both Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker back at a home in Braxton, Mississippi in January. The 16 felonies were unsealed Thursday after the men pled guilty. They include civil rights conspiracy, deprivation of rights under the color of law, discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and obstructions of justice. The officers, 5 former Rankin County Sheriff's deputies, and ex-Richland police officer include Breck McLaughlin, Jeffrey Middleton, Christian Dedman, Hunter Elward, and Daniel Opdyke. Court documents show that on January 24, 2023, the officers bursted into a home in Rankin County without a warrant. The documents say the men tased, handcuffed, poured chocolate syrup, milk, and alcohol on the two, forced them to undress, called them racial slurs, and told them to stay out of Rankin County, all while sexually assaulting them with a sex object attached to a BB gun. It ended with Elwood placing a gun in Jenkins' mouth and firing, which caught his tongue, broke his jaw, and exited out of his neck. As he was bleeding out, documents say the officers did not give him medical attention and instead gathered together to discuss how they could devise a false cover story. The court also says the defendants planted and tampered with evidence, lied to MBI, and wrote false reports.
They appear to be 6 of the dumbest cops in the history of Mississippi. This was a criminal plan orchestrated that the bottom fell out of it. These guys couldn't put a criminal act together if they tried to, and it's probably based on their education.
The officers were charged under what's known as a criminal information filed in federal court. Unlike an indictment, a criminal information does not require a grand jury's vote. Additionally, Dedman, Elwood, and Opdyke were also charged with 3 federal felony offenses related to an incident on December 4th, 2022, where Dedman beat and tased a man, firing his gun to coerce a confession, while Elwood and Opdyke did not intervene. Now, families of the 6 officers were seen in court today. However, the Rankin County Sheriff was not in court. The sentencing for this criminal investigation is going to take place in November 14th, 15th, and 16th. Live in Jackson, Madeline Nolan, 16 WAPT News.
I'd like to thank WAPT.com News for that story. We're going to move on now to this is another story about the torture that took place with these men.
These former officers will be facing decades.
This is the follow-up to the story. Okay, you can't hear Alicia? I'm hearing it very well. I wonder what's going on. Can you hear me now, Alicia? I don't know what happened. Okay. Let's see what's going on because I could hear it. You guys couldn't hear it. Hold on a minute. Let's see.
Behind bars for these hate crimes that they admitted to committing back in January. After leaving federal court Thursday, shackled up. Police officer Brett McAlpin, Jeffrey Middleton, Christian Dedman, Hunter Elward, Daniel Lopdike, and Joshua Hartfield all pleaded guilty to a total of 13 federal felony offenses. All counts are related to the incidents taking place before, during, and after the men brutalized and tortured Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker. Many, including the Mississippi Center for Justice, says the events that happened January 24th are unimaginable.
It's something that's like exceeds like what you would see in a horror film. It's really just unimaginable to try to understand what these two men experienced.
Court documents say the men tased, handcuffed, poured chocolate syrup, milk, under the color of law, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and obstruction of justice. Dedman and Elward were also charged with using, carrying, and brandishing a firearm in the act of violence, which carries a penalty of 10 years to life in prison.
This is a nightmare for law enforcement. This is the most horrible incident of police brutality I've known of my whole career, and I'm ashamed that it happened at this department.
Conspiracy to obstruct justice and obstruction of justice each carries up to 20 years in prison, along with $250,000 in fines, 3 years of supervised release, and the $100 in stipulated fees. Daniel Opdyke's attorneys have released a statement reading, quote, Mr. Opdyke has taken responsibility for his wrongdoing in this case and has pled guilty to multiple federal crimes. He admits he was wrong for his horrific harms inflicted upon Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker, the victims, that night last January, and is prepared to face the consequences of his actions. Now, the 6 officers will remain behind bars until their sentencing, which has been set for mid-November. Live in downtown Jackson at the federal courthouse, Madeline Nolan, 16 WAPT News.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I don't know what's going on with the volume. I normally put it on and then I put me on mute so that it doesn't echo. But when I put me on mute tonight, for some reason, it's echoing. Can you hear me talking to you, Alicia? It stopped now because the video is gone. We're going to go to our next video and see, and let me know if it's echoing, because for some reason it's not playing the way it normally plays. Hey, Asatar.
Demonstrators are pushing for a probe of Rankin County Sheriff.
Let's see what happens this time. I don't know what's happening. That's strange. I normally put it on mute so that you can't hear the echo. So let me know if it starts echoing.
Brian Bailey.
Yeah, 12 News' Tia McKenzie joins us now with more from their news coverage today. Tia?
Byron, local activists are calling on the U.S. Department of Justice to take another look into misconduct at the Rankin County Sheriff's Office. Civil rights leaders held a press conference asking the Department of Justice to intervene. This comes after 6 law enforcement officers pleaded guilty to several federal charges.
That's right.
Race was initiation behind all of this.
That's right.
So we are not stopping with just a plea of guilty. We want justice for Mississippi. We want justice.
5 former Rankin County deputies and 1 former Richland police will soon face state charges.
This is one of the most heinous crimes, you said, that you've ever seen in your career. That in and of itself means that you should be so ashamed that you should have said, I have failed my people.
That's right.
And I'm going to step aside.
That's right.
Hunter Elward, Brett McAlpin, Jeffrey Middleton, Christian Deadman, Daniel Opdyke, and Joshua Hartfield referred to themselves as the Goon Squad for their use of excessive force and not reporting it. Back in January, the 6 officers raided a Braxton home, assaulting Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker with a sex toy, using stun guns for over a 90-minute period, and pouring chocolate syrup and alcohol on their heads. Jenkins was shot in the mouth during the encounter.
So my question to Lion Bailey, if you don't know anything about this case, and I would ask you this, did you spend any holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, with these deputies? Did you spend time drinking beer at a local bar after you got off from work? The Goon Squad, as you called it, Goon means what?
Stupid.
I'd be a fool to think he wasn't a member of the Goon Squad.
Sheriff Bailey stated last week in a press conference that he would not step down and proclaimed his innocence.
They have created a recipe how to kill us and cover it up, and then no one would doubt or any question what is happening. But never again.
That's right.
This incident is showing us the pattern and the recipe that they've been using for years.
Jenkins and Parker filed a $400 million civil rights lawsuit against Rankin County in June. And the former officers are expected to plead guilty to state charges on Monday at 9 a.m. in Rankin County. Tia McKenzie, 12 News.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to the sound. So now this is the main video that I wanted you guys to see. This comes from Democracy Now! and she's going to do an interview with the young man, one of the young men, I believe, and their attorney. So let's hope that we can hear it. And I'm going to do like I did just then. A moment ago when I had me muted, for some reason, it muted the video, so I don't understand what was going on. So let's see what happens this time.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We end today's show in Mississippi, where 6 former law enforcement officers have been sentenced to between 10 and 40 years in prison each for raiding a home and torturing 2 black men. The officers, all of whom are white, belong to a group that described itself as the Goon Squad. In January of 2023, the 6 officers burst into a home, then beat, handcuffed, waterboarded, and tasered Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker. The officers also sexually abused them with an object while shouting racial slurs. One of the officers put a gun in Jenkins' mouth for a mock execution and pulled the trigger. The bullet lacerated his tongue, broke his jaw, exited through his neck. The officers then planted drugs at the scene in an attempt to cover up their act. The attack occurred in the majority white Rankin County, which is about 20 miles away from majority black Jackson, Mississippi. Some of the officers were also sentenced for their role in a separate assault just 2 weeks earlier, when another member of the Goon Squad repeatedly tased a man and put his genitals in his mouth. While the charges focused on these 2 cases, the New York Times and Mississippi Today have revealed that deputies in the Rankin County Sheriff's Department have for decades barged into homes, handcuffed people, tortured them for information or confessions. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland issued a statement Thursday saying, quote, "The depravity of the crimes committed by these defendants cannot be overstated, and they will now spend between 10 and 40 years in prison for their heinous attack on citizens they had sworn to protect," AG Merrick Garland said. We go now to Jackson, Mississippi, where we're joined by Eddie Parker, as well as his attorney, Malik Shabazz, who is with Black Lawyers for Justice. Malik Shabazz, let's begin with you. Can you talk about the courtroom scene and the sentencing of these sheriff's deputies and police officers for what they did?
Good morning to the Democracy Now! Audience and Ms. Goodman. The scene inside of this courtroom in the United States District Court for the sentencing of the Goon Squad was absolutely incredible, and you wouldn't believe it if it was a movie. I mean, to see the big, bad, intimidating, murderous Goon Squad, to see all of them there, to see all of them in court, crying tears out of their eyes and begging the judge, begging Eddie and Michael, and in this packed room was absolutely incredible. But it was well deserved because so many other families and victims have had to shed those tears and go to jail for a long time behind their crimes and lies. I mean, Amy, it was absolutely incredible, and never have we seen this many police officers sentenced to this kind of time in 1 week, and it was awesome.
Malik Shabazz, talk about how this self-described Goon Squad operated.
Can you imagine? And this happened to a European man 1 month before this happened to these men in January of 2023. They did something just as atrocious to him. And he said that this one of the officers, put him on his knees and tried to put his manhood in his mouth. These officers, what could they be thinking? What would make you treat a person like that at a traffic stop? It's unbelievable.
Okay. Well, they operate worse than criminals. I mean, they handcuff people. They like they did to Eddie. When they handcuff, they don't use warrants. They beat. They tase. They take their private parts out of their pants on another victim. They use dildos on Eddie and Michael, at least attempted to use them on Eddie and Michael. They waterboard like U.S. troops did in Iraq. They put guns to heads, guns in mouths. They shoot in mouths. I mean, they are everything that you have ever heard that police may do, they did. They throw down guns, they carry throw-down guns, they plant guns, they steal videotapes. And this is why they have received the longest and strongest sentences for any police brutality case in the history of the United States of America and even the world. This week, the 132 years given to the Goon Squad defendants represent the longest criminal sentences ever given out collectively and individually to police officers in the history of the United States of America. And they deserve every day and an hour of it.
Eddie Terrell Parker, your feelings in the courtroom after having been so seriously brutalized and tortured, to see these officers put away for years.
It was a moment in history. I mean, it was satisfying. I enjoyed every second of sitting and watching it all, come to reality.
I wanted to turn to Michael Jenkins' mother, Mary Jenkins, who earlier in the week spoke outside the federal courthouse in Jackson, Mississippi.
When I first found out that my son was shot and that he was shot in the mouth, I was almost certain that he was dead. I called Rankin County, and at first they wouldn't let me speak with anyone. They said they were in a meeting. And when I finally spoke with someone, I asked him if my son was alive. And he said, as far as I know. I said, when can I see him? He said, when we let you see him. This is a crying mother on the phone trying to inquire about her son. He said, Michael is our property. That's what that deputy told me on the phone. My son shot in the mouth, and he's telling me that Michael is their property.
That's Mary Jenkins, Michael Corey Jenkins' mother. Malik Shabazz, will Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker also civilly sue for not only personally these men, but clearly one of the things that their lawyers argued, the lawyers for the sheriff's deputies and the officers, is that there was this permissive atmosphere that allowed them to operate in this way. Will they be suing the state or the city?
No, we are suing Rankin County and its Board of Supervisors and Sheriff Brian Bailey, who was supposed to be running a department that supervised and monitored its officers. Unfortunately, during the sentencing hearings, it came out that Brett McAlpin, who is the chief investigative officers, which is similar to internal affairs, the criminals ran the department in Rankin. And that's why they are facing a very large civil judgment and civil trial in this case. This is a pattern and practice of the Rankin County Police Department to routinely ignore constitutional right violations. I want to say one thing, and then I want you to hear from Mississippi attorney Trent Walker. He's with me, he's from Rankin. But Eddie Terrell Parker gave the most powerful victims' testimony in these 6 days, these 3 days of sentencing these 6 defendants. He was very, very powerful. Mr. Michael Jenkins' father, were very influential in these hearings. But I would like you to hear a further answer on your question from Mississippi Attorney Trent Walker, who's from Rankin County. Here he is.
Good morning.
Hi, Trent Walker.
Hello.
If you could go ahead, if you could talk about the significance of what's happened, and does this open up hundreds of cases going back decades?
It should open up hundreds of cases going back decades. Anything that these 6 have touched, in point of fact, given the testimony that they themselves gave, and they used terms like there was a culture of violence. More than one of them said that, and that violence and brutality was expected for you to work on the night shift, which they did not refer to as the night shift. They talked about it as the Goon Squad shift. And so, yes, anything that they touch should go back, be re-examined, and really just as a matter of course overturned. Because when you find that they're willing to plant evidence and falsify reports, they had Michael Jenkins charged with aggravated assault on a police officer and with possession of drugs. Michael could have been sentenced to up to 38 years in prison. And as a criminal law practitioner in Rankin County, I can tell you, he would not have been slapped on the wrist, and he would have served many years in prison for those charges that they falsified and put on him.
I want to go to U.S. Attorney Darren Lamarck, speaking last year, announcing the federal charges against the former officers for the attack.
These defendants committed heinous acts of violence against handcuffed victims whom they terrorized under color of law. As reflected in the information unsealed today, these men sexually abused their victims, repeatedly tased them, tortured them, all under the authority of the badge which they disgraced. But not only did they brazenly commit these acts, but after inflicting serious bodily injury by firing a shot through one of the victims' mouths, they left him lying in a pool of blood. Gathered on the porch of the house to discuss how to cover it up. What indifference, what disregard for life.
So I'm wondering if either Trent Walker or Malik Shabazz can talk about the state charges, also federal charges, what this means. We're talking about officers sentenced not only for the attack that we're describing today on Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker, but for 2 weeks before when they barged into someone's home. I think this was Dedman. And how has he been described? The judge said he committed the most shocking, brutal, and cruel acts imaginable. Attorney Shabazz, you've described Dedman as oppressive and sick. Talk about these acts that you know about that they did, that they were sentenced for, in addition to the case of Michael and Eddie.
Well, about a month before, they had targeted a person named Adam Schmidt, and Adam Schmidt allegedly had offended Dedman because he had allegedly stolen something from one of Dedman's friends. So the Goon Squad gangsters, they had his tag, and they had the tag tracers, and they had an order out. They had an order out that if they found him driving anywhere without any probable cause to stop him, that they were going to stop him and deal with him. They found him one night. They called Dedman, who came off duty, on duty.
That's the European man that I was telling y'all that they did like that. So they didn't just do Asiatics. They did any and everybody they chose to. And a new person is in the chat and said that there were Asiatic officers on the Goon Squad. And I agree. I believe that. I believe the whole department, as a matter of fact, was on the Goon Squad. And I don't think that you could work there without being on that squad. That is no excuse. But I truly believe that they were a part of other atrocities.
The final day of sentencing for the
Well, I don't know where my video go. It just disappeared. That's strange. My video that we were looking at just disappeared off the screen. Bet I tell you. Sometimes reporting the news is stranger than fiction. I don't even see the video in my history. And we were just looking at the video. I don't see it there. The one we were just watching. Let me go back one. Let me see if it's here.
Civil rights demonstrators are pushing for a...
No, it's taking me back to all the old ones, not the one we were just looking at.
The final day of sentencing for the
Strange.
Each for
there
raiding
it is.
a home.
Okay, I found it. I found it. I don't know how I got way down here, but here it is. I'm going to try to take it up to where we were.
Us how to cover it up. What indifference? What disregard for life?
So I'm wondering if either Trent Walker or Malik Shabazz can talk about the state charges, also federal charges, what this means. We're talking about officers sentenced not only for the attack that we're describing today on Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker, but for 2 weeks before, when they barged into someone's home. I think this was Dedmon. And how has he been described? The judge said he committed the most shocking, brutal, and cruel acts imaginable. Attorney Shabazz, you've described Dedmon as oppressive and sick. Talk about these acts that you know about that they did, that they were sentenced for, in addition to the case of Michael and Eddie.
Well, about a month before, they had targeted a person named Adam Schmidt, and Adam Schmidt allegedly had offended Dedmon because he had allegedly stolen something from one of Dedmon's friends. So the Goon Squad gangsters, they had his tag and they had the tag tracers and they had an order out. They had an order out that if they found him driving anywhere without any probable cause to stop him, that they were gonna stop him and deal with him. They found him one night. They called Dedmon, who came off duty, on duty, and then Dedmon, who was on this night shift. Now I wanna remind you that according to the sentencing hearings, you could not work the night shift in Rankin County Sheriff's Department without being a part of the Goon Squad. And overall, you could not rise or be promoted into the Rankin County Sheriff's Department without participating in violence and being violent at night with the Goon Squad. And every one of the defendants said that they were doing okay in their careers until they were inducted into this gang called the Goon Squad. Okay, so Dedmon himself, it's so much sickness here, but any officer who you see that will whip out his private parts and attempt to put it in the mouth of a defendant
on the side of
the road, take his gun out, shoot it by the side of his head to make him believe he's gonna be killed, pull his pants down while handcuffed. This came out in court. Pull the man's pants down while handcuffed, grabbed his genitals, told him how the size of his genitals, then dry humped him. I said that it came out in court that Dedmon dry humped the man after they took him to a private house in another jurisdiction. I mean, you wouldn't believe it if you saw it in a movie, but I'm imagining it'll be that one day. But you know, in Mississippi, I gotta say this. We have a Department of Justice Civil Rights Division that is headed by a Black woman, and Kristen Clark takes her job seriously, and her Southern Division attorneys have pursued and made history in this area. And Judge Thomas Lee, they thought that Judge Thomas Lee down here in Mississippi would not do justice, and oh, how he has set a standard and put police officers on notice all over America that if you do the crime, you're gonna do the time, just like anybody else.
Well, I just want to say, Eddie Terrell Parker, you and Michael Corey Jenkins, amazingly brave and coming forward and describing what happened to you, which seems to have broken open all of these investigations right now. I want to thank civil rights attorney Malik Shabazz and Trent Walker with Black Lawyers for Justice, and Eddie Parker, who was tortured by the Goon Squad. Thank you so much joining us from Jackson, Mississippi. And that does it for our show. Very happy belated birthday to Tammy Warnoff. I'm Amy Goodman. Our website is democracynow.org. Thanks.
So now, what do y'all think about that? Unbelievable. This is going on in America. I mean, in maybe a city near you. We all have had some stories that we could tell about things we've heard, you know, that happened to people that we know or that we know of. But that actually happened to these two men. And so coming from the Department of Justice, 6 former Mississippi law enforcement officers sentenced for torturing and abusing 2 black men. 6 former Mississippi law enforcement officers were sentenced this week for torturing and abusing 2 black men in Rankin County, Mississippi. Senior District Judge Tom Lee sentenced the defendants to terms in prison ranging from 10 to 40 years. And we must give Judge Tom Lee his props, because that took a lot of tenacity, a lot of courage, a lot of integrity for him to actually give out these sentences. As we know, in most cities, most police officers, they get to celebrate what they call qualified immunity. And they normally just get a pat on the back and sent home or to another department. But these men were actually brought to justice. And the judge had the courage to do the right thing. Let me continue. Christian Detman, 29, former narcotics investigator of the Rankin County Sheriff's Office, was sentenced to 40 years in prison. And that's the one that pulled out his private part on the side of the road on the young guy that they stopped that did something to his friend. Brett McAlpine, 53, former Rankin County Sheriff's Office Chief Investigator, was sentenced to 27.25 years in prison. Hunter Elward, 31, former RCSO deputy, was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Jeffrey Middleton, 46, former RCSO lieutenant, was sentenced to 17.5 years in prison. Daniel Opdyke, 28, former RCSO deputy, was sentenced to 17.5 years in prison. Joshua Hartfield, 32, former narcotics investigator for the Richland Police Department, was sentenced to 10 years in prison. The depravity of the crimes committed by these defendants cannot be overstated, and they will now spend between 10 to 40 years in prison for their heinous attack on citizens they had sworn to protect, said Attorney General Merrick B. Garland. These defendants kicked in the door of a home where 2 black men were residing, handcuffed and arrested them without probable cause, called them racial slurs, and punched, kicked, tased, and assaulted them. After one of the defendants fired his gun in the mouth of one of the victims, breaking his jaw, the defendants gathered outside to come up with the cover story as the victim lay bleeding on the floor. Officers who violate constitutional rights will be held accountable by the Justice Department for their crimes that harm individual victims and betray the trust of entire communities. I am grateful to the Department's Civil Rights Division, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Mississippi, the FBI Jacksonville office, and our state partners for their outstanding work bringing these defendants to justice. It is hard to imagine a more atrocious set of civil rights violations than those carried out by the defendants in this case, said FBI Director Christopher Wray. But it is also hard to imagine more important work than investigating those crimes and seeking justice for the victims. As the result of the Bureau Color of Law investigation, which we worked in collaboration with the federal and state partners, all 6 pleaded guilty last August. Pleaded guilty last August and will serve lengthy sentences for their crimes. By holding these officers accountable, we are sending a clear message that law enforcement, abuse of black people, or any American will not be tolerated in our country, said Assistant Attorney General Christian Clark of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division. These 6 white law enforcement officers sought to dehumanize 2 innocent black men through a cruel, violent, and lawless abuse. The defendants didn't count on the victims' courage to come forward and tell the truth, or the justice system to hold them accountable. The court imposed severe sentences reflecting the defendants' savagery, including the longest federal sentence in recent years for a civil rights police misconduct case. Justice demands accountability, especially when the defendants' actions not only scared the victims physically and emotionally, and that scarred, but also harmed the entire community, stripping away their sense of security, corroding trust and respect for the police. We expect our law enforcement officers to take seriously their oath to be our protectors, but those defendants instead chose to be predators on a hate-fueled power trip, said U.S. Attorney Todd G. for the Southern District of Mississippi. Rather than serving Mississippi, the defendants treated it as a place where they could assault, intimidate, torture, and frame their victims at will. These violations of civil rights should serve as a reminder that we still have a lot of work to do in Mississippi and this nation to ensure that law enforcement officers are properly hired, trained, equipped, supervised, and held accountable for their actions. I really think they can start taking the trained part out, because these people know what they're doing. I don't think it's a lack of training that makes them act like they act. I could be wrong, but I doubt it. We hold positions of trust and serve as stewards of authority for the community. Color of law violations are harmful to the victims, to the American people, and to the law enforcement community across the globe, said Acting Special Agent in Charge Maher, and I can't pronounce the last name, of the FBI Jacksonville office. These 6 individuals violated their oaths and disgraced other law enforcement officers that carry their duties with pride and honor. We will continue to execute our duties to the highest level of ethical and moral values. We will continue to work with our community partners to rebuild and strengthen the partnership and trust in law enforcement. The FBI remains steadfast in aggressively investigating and bringing those who misuse their authority to justice. The 6 officers who committed these heinous acts caused more than physical harm to these 2 individual victims. They severed the vital trust between law enforcement and the people they pledged to protect, said Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Finch. This abuse of power will not be tolerated. I am proud of this joint effort and shared commitment across agencies to pursue truth and justice for these victims. It is my hope and prayer that we can help these victims on their healing journey, and we can restore confidence in our criminal justice system. The sentencing of the 6 former officers who violated their oath of office proves the effectiveness of collaboration between state and federal law enforcement agencies and prosecutors, said Commissioner Sean Tyndale of the Mississippi Department of Public Safety. As we move forward, we should all work together, creating new policies and oversights to help prevent these types of incidents in the future. Thank you to all parties involved for their diligent work in ensuring that justice was served for the victims. Last year, the 6 defendants pleaded guilty to a criminal information charging them with a total of 13 felony offenses, including civil rights conspiracy, deprivation of rights under color of law, discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and obstruction of justice. According to court documents and the plea hearings, the defendants admitted that on January 24, 2023, Dedmon sent a group message to Middleton, Elward, and Opdyke, 3 members of the Goon Squad, orchestrating a mission to forcibly enter a home in Braxton, Rankin County, Mississippi, where 2 black men, MJ and EP, were residing. The Goon Squad is a group of RCSO officers who were known for using excessive force and not reporting it. Dedmon warned the officers that there might be surveillance cameras at the house and told them no bad mugshots, meaning that the officers should use excessive force, but they should make sure not to leave any marks that would be captured in a mugshot. Upon arrival at the home, the defendants kicked in the door and entered the home without a warrant or any exigent circumstances. The defendants handcuffed and arrested the men without probable cause to believe they had committed any crime, called them racial slurs, and warned them to stay out of Rankin County. Dedmon fired his gun twice to intimidate the men. Further, the defendants punched and kicked the men, tased them 17 times, held them down, and poured liquids on their faces, forcing them to involuntarily ingest these liquids, threw eggs at them, and assaulted them with a dildo. McAlpin, the senior officer on the scene, failed to intervene to stop the torture or abuse and stole property while the incident occurred. At the conclusion of the incident, Elward surreptitiously removed a bullet from the chamber of his gun, forced the gun into MJ's mouth, and pulled the trigger. The unloaded gun clicked but did not fire. Elward racked the slide, intending to dry fire a second time. When Elward pulled the trigger, the gun discharged. The bullet lacerated MJ's tongue, broke his jaw, and exited out of his neck. As MJ was bleeding on the floor, the defendants did not provide medical aid, but instead gathered outside the home to devise a false cover story and took steps to corroborate it by planting a BB gun on MJ, destroying surveillance video, a spent shell casing, and taser cartridges, submitting fraudulent drug evidence to the crime lab, filing false reports charging MJ with crimes he did not commit, making false statements to investigators, and pressuring witnesses to stick to the cover story. For several of the defendants, the incident with MJ and EP was not their first time abusing Rankin County residents. During a separate incident on December 4, 2022, Dedmon beat and tased a white man and fired a gun near his head to coerce a confession, while Elward and Opdyke failed to intervene. Dedmon then sexually assaulted the man. In connection with that incident, Dedmon, Elward, and Opdyke each also pleaded guilty to a criminal information, charging them with 3 additional federal felony offenses, including deprivation of rights under color of law and discharge of a firearm in the furtherance of a crime of violence. The FBI Jackson Field Office investigated the federal case. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation investigated the state case. Special Litigation Counsel Christopher J. Purvis and trial attorney Daniel Gronert of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, criminal chief Aaron O. Chalk, and Assistant U.S. Attorney Glenda R. Haynes for the Southern District of Mississippi, and Mississippi Deputy Attorney General Mary Helen Wall, who was deputized as a special assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Mississippi for the federal matter, prosecuted the case. So these people are just beyond belief. It's just hard to believe that, people would do this to people, but worse have been done. And the sad thing about it is no one really wants to talk about it. And so the more you don't talk about it, then nothing is done about it. So Alicia said, this is like listening to science fiction. Regina said, pure evil and completely insane. This is yet another reminder that people should not be fooled by other people. Titles, finances, ethnicity, or gender. Evil is evil. Insanity is insanity. Wrongs. That is so true, Regina. Alicia said, why were these men targeted? Good question. But one of the reasons they gave, because the home that they lived in belonged to a European woman, and I think Michael was taking care of her. Then the Detman guy who called and told everybody to join said that he had heard that these two, you-know-whats, was living in this lady's house. And so therefore they wanted to come and put them in their place. From what I understand in my research, Rankin County is right next to Jackson, Mississippi, which of course, that was a story that I did Wednesday. And, it kind of saddens me that people don't really get to look at my videos. And not that they don't get to, but they don't want to. If you look at the videos that I was showing, they have millions of views. People all over want to know what's going on, but I don't know, some groups of people, perhaps because I'm not big and well known, people don't watch the videos, but that's why you leave them there, because one day somebody is going to want to know about this story, because I had no clue about the story. And most of the time, when you don't live in places, you don't really know the politics of that city or how the community works or what goes on, but that's supposed to be the reason why they decided to bust in this man's house, is because he was living in the home of a European woman, taking care of her. And he was taking care of her. So, it's just people are, like Regina just said, it doesn't matter. The titles, the finances, the ethnicity, it does not matter. People are just no good. And it's written, in the heart of man is no good thing. It's wicked, it's evil. And you like not to believe that about people, but you have to go back to what my son always tell me. You got to use discernment. But now these are two men that were in their home. And so they always tell us, you got to have the talk. What talk can you have when you're in your home, minding your own business, and your door is kicked in by 6 rogue officers who call themselves goons, and they come in and do waterboarding? And they said one of the officers in one of the articles that I read was the one that they said was getting ready to, that did the thievery. Well, he was getting ready to steal someone's A-class military uniform. So it's really sad that these people have no respect for anything or anybody but their own, I guess, lascivious proclivities, I guess. I just don't know what to think about this happening. But remember, these are the stories that we've heard happened back in the 1800s. And, people like to think that these type of things don't happen today. But they do, and they happen to innocent people. You know, when they think and talk about us as a people, basically it's always crime driven, never as an innocent victim. And there are people that are criminal in all walks of life. But could you imagine someone kicking in your door and then putting you under those type of pressures? I had seen the actual document that the people thought I had it up. Let's wait. I thought I had pulled it up for you guys to show you all the actual court filing. But let's listen to the color of law. That's really what we get all the time. It's amazing how they use it to their advantage. The summary, Section 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime for a person acting under color of any law to willfully deprive a person of a right or a privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. For the purpose of Section 242, acts under color of law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within their law authority, but also acts done beyond the bounds of that official's lawful authority. If the acts are done while the official is purporting to or pretending to act in the performance of his or her official duties. Persons acting under color of law within the meaning of this statute include police officers, prison guards, and other law enforcement officials, as well as judges, care providers in public health facilities, and others who are acting as public officials. It is not necessary that the crime be motivated by animus toward the race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin of the victim. The offense is punishable by a range of imprisonment up to a life term or the death penalty, depending upon the circumstances of the crime and the resulting injury, if any. And you know what's so really beautiful about it, that these young men were brave enough to follow through. Because imagine if you were done like this by the police department, how could you ever believe that you could go to the police department to make a complaint? And it's just good that those attorneys were there, and it was not the ones that we always see showing up to every incident. I'm grateful that they had some attorneys that seemed to care about what happened to these young men and the people of Mississippi, and how they can actually get real verdicts. That was awesome. I mean, real sentences. That was awesome. So we just have to be mindful and know that, you know, everybody is not fair. And no matter what you do, you know, it is written, only what you do for Christ will last. No matter what you do and what you believe, you have to just make sure whatever you're doing, you're found doing the right thing. That's all you can really do, is make sure that you're found doing the right thing. And then you show grace to people when they may not even deserve the grace that you give them. Show it anyway. One of the things that Noble Drew Ali said is one thing we have to learn to do as people is circle our emotions, square up our conduct, and speak in an intelligent tone. Most of us run into problems because we're all emotional, our conduct is reckless, and our speech ain't no intellect in it at all. That gets us nowhere. So that's just a reminder. There's nothing I don't think could have been done different in this case. Those men were at home minding their own business. Kind of reminds you of Breonna Taylor just being asleep in your bed. You know, and we could name countless of people that things like this have happened to. The only thing is, in our everyday news, they don't show us that this happens to all people. And I think they focus on us for not to help because they're always talking about they need more training. You need more training to do what? You've done the worst thing you can do. What training do you need? All this sensitivity you're talking about, these people live in the same world we do. Every day, they don't need that. They need more punishment. And this was really a beautiful start. It really made those people in Mississippi feel hopeful. But yet, you know, I did the story Wednesday when they had to stay a law that was going to affect Jackson and Hinds are the largest counties in Mississippi, and they had came up with a new law where the European judges could pick the judges for those communities. I mean, it's a lot of weird stuff that's going on in this country. And I know that we were not taught politics, but we need to start learning some politics. We really need to start understanding what's happening to us and quit guessing and thinking we know when we're so far away. One of the things I'd like to ask everybody to do, if they would, in the Henry Campbell's Black's Law Dictionary, start studying the word land, L-A-N-D. If you would, start studying the word land, the word jurisdiction, the word hereditament, and the word heritable. Those are some important words that we need to start learning the definition of. One of the things the ladies kept asking Taj last night, what can we do? What can we do? And he told them to study, research, read. But they act like they didn't hear that part. But unless you know this stuff for yourself, what someone else knows is not going to help you. You got to know this for yourself. Regina said, my apologies ahead of what I am about to say. And then you have a muddled aged, same ethnicity as you, bullying a female just because with foolish rhetoric and harassment, mental illness is real. Okay, a middle age. You're right, Regina. That is so true. And, you know, they think it's funny. And they made a lot of money bullying and talking about me. And that's okay. I can't do anything about that. But what I can't let them do is do anything to me. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I can't allow that. I didn't come here for that. I know how to be just like all the other ghetto girls. I grew up in the ghetto. That's just a condition in which we live. We don't control these 9 areas of our lives. Mr. Neely Fuller said it very well. Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, sex, war. It's always one I'm leaving off. I left off one because it's 9. I left off one. So whichever one I left off, religion, that's it. That's number 9. Well, war is number 9, but religion is the one that I left off. We don't control those things. And anytime you don't control those things, trust me, you live in food desert areas, high crime areas, and everybody in those areas are not criminals. They're everyday people trying to make it from day to day. Everybody don't want to run away. Everybody don't want to run to the suburbs. Some of us love the neighborhoods that we grew up in. And some of our parents blessed us with a homestead. And we want to live there until we go to that great home wherever we go. But it's very hard when gentrification comes in and you start getting taxed out of the wazoo. We don't understand a lot of things. And we listen to a lot of different people. And some of them make a lot of good sense. But when you have someone that's just telling you where to go so you could develop your own perception of what you're reading, it is good to agree one with another when you're coming from your perspective. It is not good to agree one with another when you're coming from someone else's perspective. And we're all influenced by something. By something that was said, maybe not said. We're all influenced. That's a part of being human. But the part of being you is making your own decisions based on your common sense and your ability to reason. Regina said, why? It is another form of evil. Then they procreate and pass their behaviors down to the next. It is up to each to break the cycle of wrongs done to others. Just because. Change the perception. Okay, Maria, drive safe. That is so true, Regina. Yet again. At some point, you got to take responsibility. No matter your age. If you didn't get to do it when you were a younger duck and you're middle-aged or you're elder, start today. It's never too late as long as you have breath in your body to see something different than what you believed it to be, what you thought it was. It's a beautiful thing to know it. It really is. And it's hard for all of us. But we do what we can. And that's all we can do. We all have our own personal struggles. I mean, just with your own body, with your own thought process. You have your own personal struggles. You can't take on the weight of the world. but you can do your part, whatever it is. You can smile and speak to somebody. You never know what a person is going through. Liquid Concrete has some excellent videos that she's put out about Colin Powell. I was really just honored to be in attendance at his service. And I up there crying with his son as he spoke so beautifully and eloquently about his dad, the mighty Secretary of State, Brigadier General Colin Powell. And it's Colin, maybe, I think. Maybe not colon, like the colon in the body. I think it's Colin Powell. And then she had one about Condoleezza Rice. She too was once Secretary of State, professor, brilliant in her own right. And that's a woman of integrity, honor. Whether we agree with their politics or whatever has nothing to do with anything. These are just people who knew where they came from and didn't forget and did an outstanding job for what we know outstanding to be. We can always find something wrong with somebody, and most of the time we do. But we really do have some modern day heroes and sheroes that we can point our children to and let them know and let them see. You don't have to agree with someone to honor them in what they do. You don't have to. Many people say they go by behavior. Many people are lying because their behavior is less than honorable. Yet they will judge you by your behavior. And you can judge a person with a righteous judgment. You have that right. But my favorite saying is, to thine own self be true. If you're true to yourself, you'll be true to others. Someone, would y'all please drop Liquid Concrete in the chat, her channel, because I just love her. She is so funny. And then she gets real serious. Regina say, I love Liquid Concrete accent. She is a smart and wise lady. I hope she knows she have shared her, that you have shared her out. If not, I will. Sharing is caring. Yeah, she knows. And she came and watched my videos and she liked them as well. But I love her bravery, her courage, her honesty. Whether you agree or not, you don't really have to agree always. Just get the message. A lot of us miss the message because we're looking at the messenger, or we're listening to someone's opinion of the messenger. And then we know we're wrong once we see the messenger is not what that person told them, but for guilt and shame. Two emotions that you're supposed to feel and get through, not live where they make you feel. You're not supposed to live there. Some of the most God-fearing people in the world, they say, Christians, they say, Muslims, they say, are the most unforgiving, ungracious people. and some great assassinators of character and of people's spirit. You know, the tongue is mightier than the sword, it is written. The power of life and death is in the tongue. And you don't have to believe me. If you're a reader of the Sun book, Google it. If you don't know the scripture, it is written. One of the guys I look at sometimes, he said that he looked at his channel and he was doing all the videos that he liked, and he had to start doing the videos that the people like, and that changed his, subscriber count and stuff like that. And I can't say that that's been true for me, but I'm going to do what I like, and because I'm here for a purpose. And I would love, again, to get as many super chats and cash apps and as everybody on YouTube. But if I get none, if I get the people that come and communicate in my chat, hit the like, then you have truly blessed me. You have done that, and I appreciate it. I truly do. Hi, Angelo. Salute. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, it means a lot, It really means a lot to know that you are actually talking to strangers and they can actually relate to what you're saying. That means a lot to me. Oh, I don't know. I thought it was in the chat. Maria probably put it up there at the top somewhere. But my Cash App is $ Toothless Tiger. It really means a lot. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Angelo. I'm about ready to close, but I kind of want to touch on this, Bonnie woman. And I wanted to touch on this because, she went to an Easter event the other day, and she, made a statement that I thought was really sad, for a professional woman, but, it's just my opinion. She said that she has nothing to be ashamed of, and she's the face for women. And I want y'all to know she's not the face for all women. There may be some women that support her. And I wish that she would come to grips with her reality. But I think that she is really deceiving herself. She said she's done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. But she just had a man. That's what she said. She was with a man, and so everybody mad at her because she was with a man. And I think that's about the craziest thing I heard, but that's what she said. And I want to find the one where it's just 2 minutes. This is it here. Let me find the one. It's just 2 minutes. And I don't want the one that's long. I want y'all to hear what she said. And you know, the judge told her that he may end up having to gag her. And I don't know if she understands what that meant. But I want y'all to just see this. I'm going to talk about her again, but I want y'all to see this before we go, because this is really troubling. And she was there for the children, I would imagine.
Trump and his allies to appeal his ruling. Speaking publicly for the first time since the judge allowed former President Donald Trump and his allies to appeal his ruling. The ruling that stated Willis can stay on the 2020 election interference case after the withdrawal of Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. Atlanta News First reporter Asia Wilson live this morning at the Fulton County Courthouse. Asia, cameras caught up with her at a community event yesterday.
You're exactly right. And District Attorney Fani Willis's words were limited as she didn't really want to talk about the election interference case, adding that yesterday's event was focused on the kids and helping her community. But she did say the work on this case will continue. Now, at the event, Willis didn't really say who she's going to pick to replace Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade after he resigned a few weeks ago. Now, Wade is also Willis's former romantic partner. Their past relationship has captured the eyes of many, specifically some defense attorneys on this case. It's the reason why some defendants have been trying to get her disqualified from the case. But with everything going on, Willis says she's going to continue to move forward, including on this case, and do it as quickly and as legally as possible.
In this case, like in every case, we will handle things in a way that we believe is reasonable, in a way that is lawful. I think what the media should focus on this case and everything, are the charges, the facts, and the law. And leave all the drama behind. I'm 52 years old. It really ain't that interesting if I'm in a relationship or not. It just ain't. It's not cool to anybody, and it ain't that sensational of a story. So let's focus on the case and the law and the facts.
Now, following Willis's comments, Steve Sadow, Trump's Georgia attorney, sent out this message on X, and you're looking at it on your screen. It says, apparently, Judge McAfee's warning to Willis in his disqualification order about talking about the case in a public forum is simply being ignored. Does that surprise anyone? Now, with Judge McAfee approving Trump's appeal, it now heads to the Court of Appeals, and if the appeals court overturns that ruling, then Willis would have to step down. We're live this morning in downtown Atlanta. Asia Wilson, Atlanta News First.
Yep.
That's not the line I wanted y'all to hear. Let me find this video. That wasn't quite the one I wanted y'all to hear. I wanted y'all to hear probably this one. Let me just do this first. Stop sharing right quick. Give me a moment. I want to see if this is the one where she talked about she just slept with a man. I don't think that's it either. I'll just wait and play it on Wednesday, because I want to say what I want to say. I don't want to say that one. She said that women, all races and colors and ethnicities, are reaching out to her as, like she did something great. She's another one that is abusing her power as district attorney for Atlanta. She is a disgrace, especially to her daughters. Again, the absence of accountability is the unraveling of decency. And that is so true, Regina. I don't know. I shared with you guys, I believe, on Wednesday, and it was a young man who was, and I don't know if I shared this story with you all or not. He was on Dinah's show with Judge Joe Brown, and he was a man that was dating a woman who actually he was telling her that he wanted to end the relationship, and he had cameras all over his home on the inside and the outside, and he told her to be gone when he came back from work. And he saw her hiding the camera in his bedroom, so he left work early and went home and went up to his bedroom, and he seen something was missing, so he went to her bags and started looking. It was a $900 belt, and the lady went to her purse and pulled out a weapon and did what you do with a weapon, and she hit him in the leg. And then he said he tried to get away, and she shot him again. It was like in the back, but it went through like the chest. And he said that he tussled and got it out of her hand. She went to his truck and got his weapon and came back in, and he could be heard over the dispatcher when he was calling 911 saying that she would, shoot him in the head. Anyway, they got her and arrested her, took him to the hospital. He was there for 10 days, was almost unalived, but he lived. And he said he started calling the detective and the sheriff and the different ones, and he lives in the city of Fulton. They have Fulton County, and then they have the city of Fulton. And the city of Fulton, I guess they have their own police department and things of that nature. But he contacted his city council person, and she told him to quit bothering her. Do not contact her for that. She has nothing to do with it. The police department, internal affairs, the sheriff told him that, the chief of police told him that they had referred the case to the DA's office. He went to the DA's office, and they said they don't know anything about it. He hired 3 different attorneys, and they knew nothing about it. The lady is free, doing whatever she wants to do. He was driving down the street a few weeks later, and he got stopped by the police and was arrested and had to go to jail for 3 days before he could bond out. And he is the victim. And the district attorney's office, Fonnie Willis, is not prosecuting actual criminals. We need to really delve into and investigate why does she have this penchant for RICO cases. Now, my thoughts may be just absolutely asinine, because I do have some thoughts about it. And my thoughts really are truly, oh, that is so sweet. Let me thank Angelo for his kindness towards me. You are appreciated. But I want to know, it goes back to the school teachers for me. That's when I started, learning of this lady. And when she charged all those school teachers with the mob law, RICO, something is not right, y'all. I'm telling y'all. She hired her father when she did that. His name is John Floyd. And she also hired the same John Floyd, who's the RICO expert. And the way I first read it in the article, I'm thinking that that was her father. But it's not. It's a European. And then for the Thug RICO and for the Trump RICO, she hired the same man and her dad. And they always mention she hires her dad. It's something to that. And I don't know why it hasn't piqued somebody's curiosity other than mine. Or could it just be me? Regina said, so she was willing to steal and destroy all over $900 bill. Ridiculously high to begin with. Tell the truth. Materialistic. All for the sake of how people want to appear to others. All hiding behind a mask. That is so very true. So very true. So unfortunate that we are reduced to hating ourselves. And one of the things that Malcolm asked us, who taught you to hate yourself? A lot of us don't even know enough about self to know if we like ourselves or not. But the first law of what? Preservation is, whatever that word is. I don't forgot what the saying is. But it's self-preservation. That's what the first law is, whatever that is. I forgot. Guess I'm having a senior moment. And I'm allowed because I'm a senior. But you gotta have belief, faith, hope, trust, and love of self. And you gotta be you no matter what. And as long as you're not harming anybody or letting anybody harm you, then no harm is done. And you cannot change for other people. As soon as you change to what they want you to be, they've changed their mind on what they want. You got to be happy in the skin that you're in. And you got to know that. Well, that's my 2 cents. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to, you can go and look at other videos about the Goon Squad and read about it. It was really sad when I found out about it, and I thought that that's something we should talk about. I really like it when we communicate one with another. Boy, I said another. One with another. I think I must be getting sleepy. Whatever the case may be. I want to thank you guys for coming to the Tiger's Den and participating as always. Regina said, trust. Many now see through Fonnie Willis. Remember, she is a lawyer, and the lawyers are all about words and acting on emotions. As I have said, many people are tainted and many things are corrupt. And you are so true about it. And that's for real. That is truly for real. I want to thank all of my new subscribers. And again, if you guys have something that you would like for me to talk about or whatever, please feel free to get in the comments and let me know. Or email me at cyjourn1026@gmail.com. Feel free to let me know if it's something that you would like for me to talk about or whatever. I've started looking at that Young Thug trial since all of this has been going on with this, and it is really a joke. And remember, Fonnie Willis is the DA, but the lawyer that she has on that case, that woman, had an actual witness for the state up there, and the young man said Can somebody give me some water because I'm so high? I don't know what I'm doing. And he said that on the witness stand, in court, with a court reporter on the record. And they used him for a witness. And they're saying that that case may last to 2027. What the world? People, we got to get serious. We got to learn more civics. We got to learn how the system really works and start using it to our advantage. We vote these people in office for a reason. We got to hold them accountable. We need to let them know that we are mature adults and we do understand that they're not holding true to the oath that they took. They're wasting money and charging us at every hand. On that note, I'm going to get ready to leave the Tiger's Den, and I'll remind you as always, the children are our future. We've got to teach them well. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love.